The saloon doors slammed open with a clap sharp enough to slice conversation in half. Boots hit the floorboards, slow, certain. Dust rose with each step. Every head turned. She stood there, all wrapped in black, a long coat draping to her ankles, hat pulled low, silver hair braided down her back. No one spoke her name, but every soul knew it. Maggie Harrow. Her eyes swept the room like a rifle barrel and stopped on him. Marshal Deke Raleigh lounged at the poker table, one boot on a chair, whiskey glass tilting lazily in his hand. His laugh withered mid-breath. The cards slipped from his fingers. Well, well, he muttered, straightening. The ghost got restless. Maggie moved forward, calm as dusk. Her gloved hand reached into her coat. Chair scraped. A man coughed and ducked. Raleigh's fingers hovered near his holster. But Maggie didn't pull steel. She placed a small locket on the table in front of him, tarnished, oval, and heavy with silence. Raleigh stared, then opened it. Inside, a lock of auburn hair, and a bullet, flattened, scarred with a marshal stamp. You kept it? He sneered, though his voice cracked just a touch. She finally spoke, voice like dry wind. You took what mattered. He laughed, forced and bitter. You come here to haunt me, widow? You want vengeance? That? No. Her hand rested near her hip, but still no gun. Please don't shoot, she said, her voice low but steady. I'll give you powerful children if you spare me. Silence sucked the room dry. Even the piano man stopped playing. Raleigh blinked, then grinned, slow, wolfish. What did you say? She leaned in, her eyes unblinking. You heard me. His fingers twitched. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple. He lowered his gun, but, crack, the whiskey glass beside him exploded, shards embedding in his sleeve. His hand jerked back, bleeding. Maggie's revolver smoked at her side. She'd drawn and fired in the same breath. A warning shot. The room froze in awe. I asked for mercy, she said. That was the only chance. Raleigh looked down at his bleeding hand, then up, eyes wide with something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. And from the far corner, the old bartender muttered. Clay Harrow didn't train her. She trained him. The shovel struck dry earth with a hollow clang. Maggie didn't flinch. She drove it deeper, sweat tracing her spine. Her black sleeves rolled to the elbow. The late sun beat down. Clay's grave wasn't finished yet. Each scoop of dirt landed with a thud beside the cross she'd hammered in with the butt of her revolver. No preacher, no mourners, just wind, dust, and grief so thick it choked the throat. Behind her, the ranch sat quiet, the fence unfinished. The rocking chair still creaked on the porch like Clay might return any minute. He wouldn't. Gunpowder had stolen his breath just 2 nights before. Not in a blaze, not in a duel. In the cold silence of an ambush. She had watched it happen from the ridge. Hidden, powerless, the shot echoing down Devil's Hollow like a cruel hymn. Raleigh's voice had carried across the rocks. Tell him Clay Harrow died fighting. That's what legends do. He'd laughed, holstered his iron, walked away like justice had been done. Maggie buried the bullet he left in Clay's chest in the dirt with him. But she kept the second one, the one Clay never got to fire. For now, she dropped to her knees beside the grave. Her fingers dug into the dry earth, trembling. You told me we could stop, she whispered. Told me we'd build something. A life. A crow cawed from the fence post. The sound snapped like a verdict. She rose. Inside the cabin, she unlatched the floorboard, pulled out the long case wrapped in faded cloth. She hesitated, then peeled it open. There it was, her revolver. Black iron, ivory grip. Untouched for 3 winters. Beside it lay a worn photograph. Her, Clay, and a swaddled baby boy with eyes too bright for the cruel world waiting outside. She touched the edge of the picture. Her fingers lingered. The boy hadn't made it past the frost. Too cold, too soon, too cruel. Grief layered over grief until it turned to steel. She loaded the revolver slowly. Each click like the ticking of a final clock. No more running. No more mourning. Just justice. Outside, the sky turned copper. The desert whispered promises. And in the still air of that lonesome ranch, Maggie Harrow became something else. Not a widow, not a mother. A reckoning. The smoke from Maggie's revolver still curled in the air like a question no one dared answer. Marshal Raleigh stood frozen, whiskey dripping from his sleeve, blood seeping from his hand. The saloon had turned to stone. Even the flies stopped buzzing. "You mad, woman?" he growled, voice brittle. "I warned you," Maggie said, lowering the gun, but not holstering it. A young deputy at the corner table stood up slow, barely more than a boy. His badge glinted in the lantern light. He drew his pistol with shaking hands and aimed it at her. "Drop it, ma'am," he stammered. "You're under arrest." Maggie didn't move. Her voice came like gravel dragged through calm water. "Arrest me, son, and you better finish it clean, because if I stand back up, you won't get another shot." The boy swallowed. Eyes darted to Raleigh, waiting for orders. But Raleigh wasn't watching him. He was staring at the locket, the bullet, the flattened metal marked with the crest only issued to federal lawmen. "You kept that?" he muttered again, quieter this time. "After all these years?" "I kept it," Maggie said, "because Clay never got to return it." Raleigh took a step back, face pale. He was no saint. "You think people didn't know what he was?" "They knew what you were," she said, "and what you still are." Murmurs rippled through the saloon. An old rancher near the bar spat into a tin cup. "Hell, Marshal, I remember Clay talking in orphans and patching up drunks you left for dead." Someone else added, "Maybe she's got more grit than you ever had." Raleigh snapped. "That man was a killer." Maggie stepped forward. "He was the mask. I was the gun." The words hit like thunder. She reached in her coat and pulled a folded telegram, tossed it on the table beside the cards. Clay took credit. 427. "I took the shot. Behind the hills. Behind the name. Because I was the one they never looked for." Raleigh's face drained. "That's a bluff." "Then call it." The saloon door creaked. A wind passed through, stirring sawdust across the floor like it, too, was listening. Maggie held up one final item, a second bullet, polished silver, engraved with the initials H. "This one's his," she said. "Unfired. Saved for you." She set on the table with a soft click. "You want to draw, draw, but only one of us walks out." Raleigh looked at her hand, then her eyes, and for the first time, realized the legend hadn't died with Clay. It had been standing behind him all along. Raleigh's hand hovered near his holster, fingers twitching like a snake about to strike. Maggie stood across from him in the street, coat flapping, hair tangled in the dying light. Her eyes didn't blink. The town of Dustfall Ridge lined the boardwalks in silence. Mothers held children tight behind cracked windows. Men who'd fought in 3 barroom brawls and 1 real war didn't say a word. Sunset poured blood across the sky. "You don't have to do this," Raleigh said, breath shallow. Maggie said nothing. She loaded her revolver 1 chamber at a time. The clicks echoed like church bells in a graveyard. He licked his lips. "You were his wife. I was his shield." She cocked the hammer. Raleigh drew. Too slow. Crack. The shot tore across the street. Raleigh's pistol clattered from his hand before he hit the ground, howling, clutching his leg. Blood soaked through his pant leg, pooling in the dust. Maggie walked forward, each step measured, boots thudding like drums of judgment. She stopped over him, lowered the barrel to his chest. "You stole his name, twisted his death, made me a widow in silence." He whimpered. "I didn't kill the boy. I swear. I buried my son in snow that winter. You just made sure he didn't grow up safe." Her hand trembled. Then she holstered the gun. "Justice don't need your blood. It needs your name. You'll confess." In every town, Clay's name was dragged through dirt. "You let me live?" Maggie leaned in. "I'll let you crawl." Raleigh wept. She turned her back on him and didn't flinch when someone in the crowd began to clap. The sound grew, slow, respectful, like a storm gathering on the edge of memory. By nightfall, she was gone, left before the stars blinked over Dustfall Ridge. They say she headed east past Black Mesa, took in runaways, orphans, widows, broken boys, and forgotten girls. Taught them how to shoot, how to ride, how to survive. She didn't bear children. She built them. Powerful ones, the kind the West would remember. And around campfires and in quiet saloons, they whisper still. The legend of the Hollow Widow. And no man, drunk or brave, dares call it myth.